Hello, everybody. Hi, Daniela. Hi, Gamer Girl. Jacqueline. All right, so if you're watching this after it's been recorded, we're going to jump into it at about like the 5-minute mark. All right, so I'll tell you in a second what we're going to get started with. I thought I was going to be so late to this stream. We got the Pyrenees spayed and neutered today, and that took forever at the vet's office. Oh man, that's restricted from her school computer. That sucks. Let's see. Gamer Girl says, "Thank you for inspiring me. I just want to say this before the chat gets wild." Thanks. Jacqueline Harrison, "I have a rabbit. Can you call me for more advice?" I don't do phone calls because that would be kind of a violation on my privacy as well as underage people's privacy. But I do have a lot of rabbit videos, so you could always start there. Let's see. So yes, today's video is going to be about preventing cancer in dogs. I'm going to be reading an article and basically reacting to it and talking to you guys about it. So we'll get started in a few minutes with that. Does anybody have any questions before then? Oh, actually, you know what? We'll probably get started a little bit further into it because it's barely 6:03. I went on kind of early today. I've never had so many people ask me to call them on their phone in one chat. That's interesting. How hard is it to breed corgis? I'm planning on breeding my corgi Luna. My mom chose that name. It is very hard. It could potentially be a lot in veterinary bills for them. Some of them don't have puppies as easy as others, so you definitely want to make sure that you are going to be able to spend a lot in vet care. Have you heard of a dog massage? Do you recommend it for dog owners? I have not heard of that. I guess that's like a regular massage, but are they doing that at the groomers, or I don't know. I would definitely need to know more information about it, whether or not I would recommend it. Some groomers and vets have it. I had a vet one time doing like dog yoga on Caspian, and I was not impressed with that at all. I felt like she kind of ignored what I was there for, and went off on like something that I didn't really care about. Okay, so let's get started here. So for today's video, what I want to be talking about is preventing cancer in dogs. And there's this magazine called Animal Wellness, and they have a lot of really good articles written by veterinarians and people like that. And so there's an article in here that I wanted to read to you guys and basically react to. So, and then I will be, so the article, and in case you guys wanted to check it out, it is Animal Wellness, and it's the June-July 2019 edition. And I'm going to be reading parts of it, and then you guys can tell me what your thoughts are. I'm going to be telling you what my thoughts are. The article is broken down into 5 different parts. So it is preventing cancer, and then it goes over 5 different things to think about when you're taking care of your dog and thinking about preventing cancer. So we have a couple of people here today that have cancer. My dog had breast cancer, scar, she got a tumor removed. And okay, somebody else's dog has lung cancer. So want to be friends. Was your dog spayed or was she not spayed? I'd be interested in knowing about that. Okay, so it says this is written by Judy Morgan, and she is a veterinarian. I did look her up. She actually has her own website with a lot of really interesting information, and she loves raw diets, things like that. She's really into taking care of dogs in a natural way. Okay, so it says, while no one can predict which dogs or cats will develop cancer, there are steps you can take to reduce the risk. Cancer rates in dogs and cats are rapidly increasing, much to the dismay of animal parents everywhere. 1 in 3 cats and 1.65 of every 2 dogs are estimated to develop cancer. Half of all dogs over the age of 10 will be given this dreaded diagnosis. So that's a lot. 1 in every 3 cats and half of the dogs over the age of 10. These alarming statistics are enough to make any animal lover cringe. But is it possible to decrease the chances that your dog or cat will die of cancer? There has yet been enough research in the veterinary field to assert exactly what causes certain types of cancer in dogs or cats or how to prevent them. But there are measures you can take to help ensure optimum health and longevity for your own canine or feline companion. So basically, they're saying that there is not a lot of scientific data to back up some of this stuff, but there are certain things that basically that they know are more likely to lead to diagnoses of cancer. So these are just some of the small things that we can think about when trying to make our dogs live a long and healthy life. Want to be friends. She got spayed later. So do you mean that by she got spayed after getting cancer, or she got spayed like when she was older? Like, did she have cancer and then get spayed is what I wanted to know. Natasha Reyes, can dogs get cancer from the food that they eat? Okay, so that's an interesting question. That's actually the first bullet point here. So it says, number one, feed him a healthy whole food diet. So to answer your question, we're going to be reading this part, but essentially, this veterinarian agrees that yes, diet is really important in preventing cancer. First and foremost, diet is key. Food is the foundation of life. Without good nutrition, it is impossible to achieve optimum health. While many say that raw feeding is the only way to go, there really is no one way to feed dogs and cats. Some will thrive on raw diets, while others may struggle with digestive disorders when fed raw meals. And usually when they talk about that, it's like some dogs prefer to have the food cooked. So she's not saying that kibble is necessarily the best alternative to a dog who's not doing very good on a raw diet. So, and I kind of just use raw to describe a diet that is not kibble. But here she is talking about actual raw food. And so some dogs don't even want to eat raw food. They want their food warm or something like that. So there are certain dogs that do better. And of course, not every dog is going to be at the same health level. So some dogs would need to have their food cooked. Rest assured, however, that fresh, organic, antibiotic, and hormone-free whole food diets provide the best nutrition quality for promoting health and longevity. Preparing meals at home will provide the freshest ingredients, although it's not always easy to do. For those who want to home prepare meals for their dogs and cats, it is crucial to ensure that the diet provides all the essential vitamins, minerals, fats, and amino acids necessary for each species. It may be difficult to provide completely balanced meals without the addition of synthetic vitamins and minerals unless the animal parent is willing to source some unique ingredients. Working with a veterinarian, nutritionist, or food therapist is the best way to ensure that all nutrients are provided in the right amounts. In general, the less processed the food, the better. If you're buying packaged food, select the highest quality products you can afford. Avoid foods that contain dyes, preservatives such as BHT and BHA, added sugars, and ingredients that are suspected carcinogens such as carnitine. I'm not sure, but carcinogens are basically cancer causing. Things like Seven Dust does have carcinogens. Unfortunately, glyphosate, the chemical weed killer known as Roundup, is infiltrating many of the food and water supplies in which our animals and we are exposed. Glyphosate is found in grains, animal meats, fruits, and vegetables. Feed your dog or cat non-GMO, locally sourced ingredients whenever possible. It's also a good idea to avoid foods that have undergone high heat processing, such as low-end commercial kibbles. So pretty much all kibbles do undergo high heat. So one of the things I wanted to point out from this is the food is really, really important, but I think sometimes people make it seem too hard for an everyday average person to actually be able to manage to do. And I don't think that that's what we want. I think we want to be able to show people that you can feed dogs raw food without it being super difficult and without it costing a lot of money. Oh, thank you so much, GamerGirl22. Thank you for inspiring me and helping me, Kira. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, so what I was saying is that it doesn't have to be super hard. And so what she was talking about here is that sometimes you have to add supplements to the food in order to make sure that they are getting all the vitamins and minerals that they need. And I think that's a really good idea. That's what I do with my dogs. I don't do it on a daily basis. I do it like 3 to 4 times a week. They get that stuff added to their meal. And really, there isn't a lot of that in kibble. So sometimes people think like, if I don't feed them kibble, they won't be getting all the vitamins and nutrients that they need. And that's not necessarily true, whereas like kibble can actually be lacking in a lot of the vitamins that they need. Now, also where she says unique, being able to source some unique ingredients. That's one thing that I also want to point out with raw feeding is sometimes I feel like people take it so extreme, like they are wanting to make it so natural that they start using a lot of weird products, like duck heads and goat testicles and just chicken feet, a lot of things that don't necessarily have a lot of nutrition. There are, it's not necessarily that it's bad to feed it to them because they do get something good out of it, but then people start trying so hard that they end up just feeding the dogs byproducts anyways. So a lot of this stuff that kibble has is byproducts. So it's basically the waste from the slaughterhouse. And then people end up buying, they go to local farms and they buy waste products from the farmers. So I don't really like that aspect of raw feeding. I think you need to focus more on muscle meats. Organ meats are good, but you can overdo organ meats. But yeah, it's just, I think don't go away from kibble just to, in the end, feed your dogs more byproducts. So that's something that I like to point out. Let's see, what else? Okay, so the last paragraph was about GMOs and feeding only organic. Now, I don't, personally, I don't really like to promote organic and non-GMO with pet food. And I have talked about it, like my video that I did when I rated dog kibble. I gave Nutro a really high rating, especially for them having non-GMO products, but it was because of the quality of their brand overall and the price for the fact that they do have non-GMO products. It's a really good brand. But I don't necessarily like to just be like, oh, you can only feed your dogs non-GMO, organic. I think it's a huge, huge difference if you take your dog off of kibble and then put them on a raw diet, regardless if it is non-GMO or organic. That is already like 100 times better than kibble. Giving them muscle meats and vegetables and even high quality grains. And so I think if you just are like trying to get people to go from these, Walmart or PetSmart kibble brands to all of a sudden feeding them this super expensive, organic, grass-fed, locally raised beef, that's unrealistic. And so that's why I don't like to promote the non-GMO organic so much. I think that's great. That's a great choice if that's what you want to feed your pets, but I think we need to take baby steps in getting people there. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on that. Oh, and another thing with food is that I think a lot of people think that if they switch over to raw, it's going to be super expensive, and that is not the case. Especially if you're not going to focus on immediately going to non-GMO organic meats. If you just buy, what's available to you, which most people are eating themselves, if you just get stuff like that for your dog, I've found that it can be cheaper than high quality kibble. And so of course, like, pedigree, something that's just corn and doesn't have any meat, is obviously, it is cheaper than feeding raw. But if you are already trying to find a really good kibble brand for your dog and it's like $40 for a bag, most likely you can switch over to a raw diet and save money. So I think that's some really important things to point out. So I basically agree with everything that she's saying, and I do think that there is some importance to non-GMO and organic. I just think that we shouldn't be trying to push people there when they're still with kibble. We can do it a little bit at a time. Let me go over some of the comments before we go on to the next one. Oh, gamer girl, you wanted your mom to get you vaccinated. How is that gone? I feel so bad about that. Uh, and remember, I will try my best to answer your comments as long as they are on topic. Okay, brands of dog food that I recommend. I did a whole video on rating different brands, so I would definitely go check that out because it'll really help you see how good of a quality your food is. I think you can definitely learn a lot from that. Let's see, that was from Maddie Michael. Music Gamer Girl 2011. Do you have to give meat? Yes, absolutely. So dogs and cats, this is mainly going to focus on dogs, but dogs and cats need meat. There's just no way around that. In order for them to be healthy, you have to feed meat. They are not an animal that you can make go vegan or vegetarian, and that's just how they biologically are. You can't change them in that way. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Number 2 is keep his weight and stress levels down. Maintain a healthy weight in your dog or cat and do not allow him to become obese. Obesity causes inflammation, which can lead to cancer. Exercise and mental stimulation are extremely important to maintaining optimum health. Frustration, separation anxiety, and confinement can lead to emotional imbalances that contribute to immune system stress. Appropriate outlets include exercise, competition, and training. Don't forget about indoor cats. They need stimulation too. Interactive toys can be a great way to get them moving. Okay, so this is like really important that I think a lot of people overlook. And I get this a lot. A lot of people think that my corgis are super skinny. And Luna was definitely underweight when she had the puppies. So from right before she had the puppies for about 4 to 5 weeks, we really struggled with her weight. She's super healthy now, but my corgis have a waist, and that's something that people are so surprised by all the time. And I think you constantly see, whether it's out in public or on the internet, these corgis that are just like super chubby, and they think that that's like their body type, and it's not. These dogs are working dogs. They were bred for herding cattle and sheep, and so they require a lot of exercise. They're super energetic, and a lot of people don't give them the exercise that they require while overfeeding them. So that's something that's super important. It's kind of sad that people see my dogs and think that they are really skinny and that it's like not the norm, that they think that, well, basically that my dogs are not the norm. And it's just that like that's what you should expect when you see them. And so it's kind of sad, like people just assume that corgis are supposed to be super chubby. And it's not just with corgis. I mean, it's with a lot of dogs. I think them being overweight is a huge problem. And it's just, they're going to beg you for food, but you have to feed them in moderation. My dogs get fed twice a day, and each time it's like, I haven't fed them for a week. That's what they act like, and it's just normal. Okay, so let's see. Maddie Michael, the video is called Irate Dog Kibble, I think. You can either check it out on my dog playlist, or if you go to all my videos and scroll a little bit, it should pop up right away. I did it like I think 2 months ago or something. Let's see. Angie Day, what can I give my dog if she can't have grain? First, I would find out if she really has a grain allergy. So I did a video about getting an allergy test for my dog, and it's done through hair samples. So this is actually tested in a lab to find out what they're allergic to. If you just had a vet tell you she probably has a grain allergy, I would not go with that. I would actually get a test and see what the problem is, because if you take all the grains out of her diet and she's not allergic to grain and she's allergic to chicken instead, then it's not going to help. So I would definitely do a test to make sure that that's what's going on. If she is allergic to grain, then I would get her either a grain-free kibble or just go to raw and not feed any grains. Just, there's other substitutes you can use. So I spend almost this is from Austin Burton. So I spend almost $50 every other week on my dog's kibble, and I feed 2 boxadors and a beagle. Would you recommend me trying raw to see if it's cheaper? I've been wanting to feed raw, but the cost is. I would say try to plan it out. What I would do is look for the sales for the meat and see, like, getting a freezer for it is really the way that you can save money on raw, so that you can buy the meat that's on sale. Like here, they change it like every week, and if beef's on sale, then I'll stock up on beef, and then the next week pork's on sale. But that way you have it all there, and it's because you don't want to constantly feed them just only beef for the week. You want to kind of switch it out a little bit. So that's why you want to have it stored and have a freezer. So basically 3 dogs for $50 a week on kibble. Yeah, it is difficult to say, okay, because it does depend where you live. But for example, if I were to go to the store with $50 every week, I could definitely feed 3 dogs. That would be more than enough for where I live to feed 3 dogs. So yeah, I'd say try it. The cost is what makes me nervous. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's see. My dad said raw food could make dogs sick. Oh, well, I think I would like to ask your dog, I would like to ask your dad how a raw diet could make your dog sick. Is it, that the fact that they're eating raw meat? Because we cannot compare our digestive system to a dog's digestive system. They have a different acid level in their stomach. They have a different digestive tract. They are actually biologically built to be able to consume raw food safely without it hurting them. That's how they get the most nutrients. Does he think that it's going to make them sick because the food's going to go bad? Well, it's not kibble, so you can't just leave it out in your kitchen for the day. You have to feed your dog during certain meal times. So you feed them twice a day, take the food away if they don't finish it. But you should be feeding them just the amount that they would eat in one sitting. How else could it make them sick? Basically, if you are able to go to the store, buy raw meat and bring it home and fix it for your family and not get sick from it, then you should be able to do the same for your dog, because it's just the same sanitary thing. Like, wash your hands, wash the plates that you use, all of that. There's just not really a realistical way in which dogs can get sick from raw food. Could I give my dog an egg? Yes, eggs are really good for dogs. And honestly, you cannot get sick from eating a raw egg. Eggs from the store are pasteurized. People eat them in shakes raw all the time. That's just kind of normal. You eat raw cookie dough. So yeah, you can give your dog an egg, whether you cook it or give it to them raw. You can hard boil it for them. Yeah, pretty much anyway. My dog is super chubby and he's cute that way. He's not cute that way. Being unhealthy is not cute. It can lead to a lot of problems. His cholesterol is probably high. His little heart is struggling to pump enough blood for his body. None of that is cute. And it's more important to have a dog that's healthy. So definitely get him exercise and put him on a diet. Are raw chicken hearts good for your dog? Yes, I feed them every once in a while. Oh, thank you, Angie Day. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the questions there. Let's move on to number 3. Okay, so number 3 is one that's like I really wanted to talk about. Here it says, avoid over-vaccination. Now, I want to point this out before we get started with this part of the article, is that like this is not don't vaccinate. It is not that at all. Okay, so get your kids vaccinated. That's, 100 years ago, kids were dying. Like, let's look at the statistics of how many people, like the amount of kids that they had and the amount of kids that died in a family because of disease and illness. Just get your kids vaccinated. Now, this is about over vaccination, and there's a huge difference with that. So I'll kind of like read that and get into it, but I just want to point out that you still need to go get your kids vaccinated for anybody that's watching. This is critical to canine and feline health. While vaccines provide immunity to life-threatening diseases, they should be given in moderation. Research has shown that dogs and cats maintain immunity against the core diseases of distemper, hepatitis, parvovirus, and rabies for many years and possibly life. Unfortunately, since rabies is a zoonotic lethal disease, current laws mandate vaccination boosters much more often than our dogs or cats might require. Boarding, daycare, grooming, and training facilities, along with many other veterinary hospitals, require proof of annual vaccination, resulting in the over-vaccination of millions of dogs and cats each year. When a vaccine is given, the immune system must respond by making antibodies against the injected antigen particles in the vaccine. When the immune system works hard to process multiple vaccines, the result can be allergies and autoimmune reactions in which the body attacks its own cells. Preventatives in vaccines can also cause an inflammatory reaction within the body, resulting in allergic reactions and sometimes tumors in the skin and muscles. Cats are particularly prone to developing fibrosarcoma tumors secondary to vaccination. The rabies vaccine has been most commonly incriminated in the development of these masses. Requests the normal-free product when the rabies vaccine must be given to help decrease the chances of tumor formation. Blood tests called titers can be done to determine whether an animal has immune antibodies against a disease. If antibodies are found, no vaccination is necessary. Titer tests are most commonly used for distemper, parvovirus, and panleukemia. I think it's panleukemia. Rabies titers are not accepted as proof of vaccination for license purposes in the United States, even though many animals will hold immunity based on their testing for 10 years or more. Consider your animal's lifestyle when discussing vaccinations with your veterinarian. Lepretitis, Lyme, influenza, feline leukemia, and Bordetella are all considered lifestyle vaccines and should be given when a high risk of exposure. Okay, so basically it's not don't get them vaccinated, it's don't over-vaccinate them. So it's completely different than the human argument for vaccinations. We're not saying get the measles vaccine every 6 months to a year. It's not like that. Whereas with the dogs, that is what they're saying. They're saying, even though you've been vaccinated for this, continue getting the vaccination on a regular basis. And I completely agree with this part of the article. This is a huge problem in the United States. There's a lot of places where it is a law that your dog has to be vaccinated once a year. And that's just, it's too many vaccinations, especially when we're finding out that these vaccines can protect them for life and that these yearly vaccines are not necessarily needed. Okay, so let's kind of break this down. So yes, basically, they're saying that they are having immunity for this for life. They're being protected, so you don't need to be over vaccinating. And then they're talking about two vaccinations for a lifestyle. So that basically means so parvo and distemper are my dogs, when they were puppies, they were just one vaccination away from being protected, and they ended up getting parvo, even though I kept them at home, even though they, were protected from all of that. But basically, the parvovirus can travel in all kinds of ways. You can bring it home on your shoes if you're out walking in the store. You can a bird can actually bring the parvovirus into your yard. And the same thing for distemper. And so those are things that are just super easy for your dogs to be exposed to. Now, things like bordetella, that's kennel cough, or Lyme disease transferred from ticks. If you live in the city in an apartment, your dog is probably not going to come in contact with ticks at all, I would assume. So you obviously wouldn't get a Lyme disease vaccination. But if you lived out in the country, especially where it's very green and there's a lot of wild animals around, like mice and rats and deer, then getting a Lyme disease vaccination is something that would probably be a priority for you. So same thing goes with bordetella. If you keep your dog at home, then you're probably not going to get bordetella. But if you take your dog to the groomers or they stay like in kennels when you're out of town, then your dog needs bordetella. So it's important to just not vaccinate for everything, but vaccinate for what you actually need. Then they also talked a lot about the rabies vaccine being what's causing tumors in cats and dogs sometimes, but cats especially. And yeah, this veterinarian, I was looking at some of her stuff online, and she pretty much recommends what like I've always said. Although I don't think I've said this online actually, but if you have indoor cats, yeah, I wouldn't be vaccinating them every year because they're not exposed to it and it is too many vaccinations. And the problem is that they want you to do the rabies vaccine every year. And see, what I would do in these situations is basically the titer test. And the titer test is a blood test that's taken of your dog to see if they are still protected from certain illnesses and diseases from the vaccines that they've already had. So that I think is something really important before just taking your dog year after year to get their vaccines for rabies, parvo, and distemper. So yeah, that's definitely I mean that's what I do anyways. And yeah, that's I think that kind of covers that. Let's see what you guys have to say about that. Okay, I'm trying to get back to where I was. All right. Bronster, autism. There is no scientific evidence that vaccines will cause autism. Oh, welcome to the live video, Cameron. So it says, favorite YouTuber's dog died of brain cancer even though he ate raw food. So this is cancer prevention. It's in no way going to completely take out the factor of cancer. So it's things you can do to try to make your dogs healthy and have a best life. But there's so many other factors when it comes to that. And like there are 5 things that this veterinarian is talking about in preventing cancer, and raw diet is only one of them. Somebody says it poisons the blood. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Okay, I'm trying to go through the comments and read everything so that I can answer you guys' question. We live in the city, but we go walking in the woods and let her go with my cousin's dog. So yeah, that's an example where you're going to be exposed to different diseases. You're going to be exposed to ticks, things like that. So that's where you need to be careful. Like if you're going to go walking in the woods, I would definitely use like a mosquito spray beforehand on your dog, not just on you, by the way. Austin Britton, how often should I vaccinate my dogs then? I would get the titer test and only vaccinate if they are not protected. My vet has rabies shots every other year. Yes, some veterinarians offer even a 3-year vaccine. So that's really good. Oh, yes. So Austin says that yes, you're going to get the titer test. Okay. And Dawood, please don't spread misinformation. You are not a doctor. Yes, genius, I'm not a doctor. But show me one doctor who has not had his license taken away that says vaccines for children are going to cause autism. Bring me that, and then you will have an argument. But that's not going to happen. You can use mosquito spray on dogs. Yes. They just can't have, what is it called? Let me see. There's actually, it said it over here in this. Okay, so you can get like at like Sprouts or Whole Foods, you can get the mosquito spray because you just don't want it to have DEET or zinc oxide. DEET is found in a lot of like the major brands, but you can go with like a little bit more natural or like DEET free mosquito spray, and those are the ones that you can use on your dogs. You just get my evidence of Dr. Tyrone. The only doctor that said that got his license taken away. So, if you want to go be with a doctor that can't even practice medicine, then rather than the millions that can practice medicine, I mean, I don't know what that says about you. I think that means that you just want to believe what you want to believe, regardless of fact. All right. So we're done with vaccines now. So keep your crazy vaccine theories to yourself. We're going to move on to counter chemical overload. All right. So this one is one of the things that I have been worried about, like with dogs for a long time, like longer than I've had my YouTube channel. Chemical overload has become a big problem for our dogs and cats over the past few decades. Pharmaceutical companies have worked very hard to develop preventative medications that are convenient and easy to use to keep our pets free from heartworm, intestinal parasites, and external parasites such as fleas and ticks. Unfortunately, this chemical load comes with a high price. Can you guys hear that train? It's so loud. Okay. So distracted by the train. I'm going to start from there. Unfortunately, this chemical load comes with a high price, not only for your wallet, but also for your dog and cat. Many of these medications are tested on only a few hundred animals before being released to the market. meaning your dog or cat is the testing laboratory for side effects and illness. Once a product is released, recall is very difficult. Hundreds or thousands of animals can become ill or die before the recall will occur. In most cases, it takes years to know if a particular product causes cancer. Oral prevention products that last, actually, I'm going to stop there with the flea and tick medications. So, as some of you probably know, last year, yeah, it's been over a year. Last year, Clark went to the groomers and they put him in a flea and tick bath, even though I even told them at the beginning, do not put any flea and tick stuff on my dog. So they ended up actually bathing him in that. Maybe they didn't understand do not and thought do. And he got a skin infection that lasted for like over 2 months. And that was just a topical soap that lasted for like 5 minutes. There are other, and that was Century. Century is so bad about the reactions that dogs get from it. I would not use any Century products no matter what. That is such a cheap product, and there are so many stories of dogs dying from it. Now, not all flea and tick medications are the same. If I had to use something, I would probably go with something high end like Frontline is a high end brand compared to Century that's so cheap. And uh, but overall, like I think if you don't have to go with a flea and tick medication, that is the best thing. You just grooming, using natural products. There's like shampoos that have essential oils in them that are actually really good at preventing flea and ticks from getting on your dogs. Let's see what else. Like I said, grooming is also super important. So Lyme disease, from what it says on the FDA website, it takes 36 hours for Lyme disease to transfer from a tick to the host. So grooming your dog every day is actually a way that you can prevent them from getting Lyme disease. If you groom them, once or twice a day, and then that way the fleas and ticks aren't staying on them, and ticks for Lyme disease. But yeah, the medications are so bad, and a lot of people don't know this. And also, you can't put a lot of these medications on dogs that are younger than 6 months. If you get an 8-week-old puppy, this can be super bad for them. And like they said, the dog and cat is the testing laboratory, basically because there is not a lot of tests done with these products. These are not human products, so they do not have to go through a certain amount of testing. They don't have to be super safe. There are so many cases of dogs having seizures, burn marks, and dying from these medications. And if you had that with humans, these products would be off the shelves. It's different. We're not talking about humans here. And I think a lot of people go into the pet store and they're like, they're selling this product, it must be safe. That's not the case. It's not like buying stuff for a human. And I mean, of course, you even have to be careful about what you're buying for yourself, but it is so much worse than with animals. If you want to look at, the hundreds and thousands of animals that become ill with these products, just Google it. There are lots of websites and stories and just information that you can get from that. So yeah, that's I don't recommend using products like that. Let's go over the comments really quick. I don't know what to do about my dog. My yard has bad fleas and I don't want ick fleas, so should I put her on medication? Personally, what I would do is I would spray the yard over putting medication on the dog. There's also, you could try Damascus earth or stuff like that, but if you have a huge problem, I would recommend using some sort of product on the yard and keeping your dog off of it for a few days. But it's hard. It really depends on how bad your situation is of what you want to do, because you spray your yard, it's going to be on your grass, and your dog could potentially eat the grass. And that's, again, going to be a carcinogenic going into your dog, cancer causing. So try to look for natural products. There are a lot more products now, such as cedar spray, that help with bugs and stuff, so you can spray that around your yard. There are shampoos that you could use on your dog to prevent the fleas from being attracted to them, so I would try that. Let's see. I groom my dog 5 times a month. Is that bad? No, that's fine. Once a week, baths once a week are perfectly fine. But if you are exposed to like ticks or anything like that, then you probably want to brush on a daily basis. Or should I groom him once a day? So, baths once a week. If you are being exposed to ticks, then brushing once a day. Oh, thank you, Jesse. Okay, so that was number 4, counter chemical overload in regards to flea and tick medications. We're going to now go to the next paragraph. We're still talking about chemical overload, but this one is about oral products. So it says oral preventative products that last for a month or more cannot be taken back out of the body once administered. If your dog or cat has a reaction or illness secondary to administration, supportive care is the only option. Some immune suppressant drugs used for allergy therapy are now being linked to increased cancer risk. So here what we're talking about is medications that are to prevent heartworm, to prevent parasites, internal parasites. And this is something that like I've had a problem with for a long time, like before I even started my YouTube channel, is giving the dog so much medication, which I don't think is right. And so I've and that's kind of what pushed me a lot too towards the naturalistic holistic medicine for veterinarians, and looking into their research. And so yeah, basically she's talking about all the oral medications. So I want to be really careful with this, because this is such a delicate topic, and it's like neither one is going to be right for everyone. So it's not like, no, don't give your dogs any heartworm medication. I don't think that's right, but it's not like everyone should give their dog heartworm medication. That's not right either. Okay, I think I froze. Oh, am I back? Okay. All right, so yeah, it's you have to find kind of like a happy medium and see. What I say with preventative medications is how important is it to your situation? What are the risks? Because in some cases, you should be giving the medication because the risk of not is going to outweigh the cost of actually giving it to your dog. So, for example, with heartworm is transferred from mosquitoes. So there's some areas that the dogs are going to be exposed to mosquitoes constantly. That's a very high risk, and for some of those situations, the dog should be on medication. But again, like I was saying with the fleas and ticks, if your dog is constantly inside, if you can do other things like natural mosquito repellents, and take him out when the mosquitoes aren't so bad and when you can use repellent, then isn't necessarily the best thing to be giving your dog heartworm medication. And you guys let me know too. Let me know if you think that you should, be giving heartworm medication, or if you think that not everyone should, or if you think that nobody should. Like, you guys can let me know too. what your thoughts are on some of these things that, uh, people are doing. It's like the people that are using all of this stuff too that we're talking about in this article are obviously trying really hard to keep their dog healthy and to make sure that they don't have anything bad happen to them. And so it's really hard. It's hard to be like just having to decide which one is going to be best for your dog. It's not something that's easy. So I think the important thing about as we go through this article is that don't take everything like as I have to do this now, but use it as something that is going to make you think about everything that is going into your dog or on your dog. Let's see. So do we have any comments from that? I heard you could wash the dog every day. Most veterinarians and groomers would not recommend that. I don't think that that would be good. For corgis, should she get fleas? Could she get fleas? Can I bathe her in a natural shampoo and still reach her undercoat? Yes, it will still go into her undercoat when she's wet. And yeah, that would probably work. Somebody says they're emailing me stuff. I don't know what they're talking about. Okay. So yeah. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts on this. This is still on this is still on chemical overload. So we're gonna read the last two paragraphs for that, and it is essential oils are a great alternative for pest prevention. Application will be required more often, however, which translates to less convenient with some people. Essential essential oils must also be top quality and appropriately diluted when used on animals. Only use products from trusted sources. Instead of routinely giving deworming medications, have a stool sample tested twice a year and only treat the animal if parasites are found. Find out what the prevalence of heartworm in your area is and medicate only seasonally if needed. Okay, so I think that those are two really good ways to prevent it. Essential oils that are in like natural flea and tick shampoos, stuff like that. Personally, that's what I've used, and I thought that it's actually been really good. That it does work. Okay, yes, I will block him. Sorry, really. Let me fix this really quick. Okay, there we go. Gotcha. So yeah, the essential oils, grooming, and then talking about deworming medications and parasites, getting your dogs tested. I think that's also a really good idea instead of just and then also find out the prevalence of heartworms in your area. That's what I was kind of talking about before is using medication when you absolutely need to. So I think I really like this article. There's one more. There's number 5 to go over, but what I really like from this article is that the veterinarian isn't just completely going against everything. It's that she's offering alternatives and saying to use these things when it is necessary. So number 5 is have him checked regularly and promptly. Grooming should be an ongoing routine for every animal, since the simple act of brushing may reveal a new lump or bump that could signal a problem. When you find a mass, have it checked right away to determine whether or not it could be suspicious. Proactive diagnosis and treatment can greatly improve the outcome when cancers are caught early. Up until the age of 7, your dog or cat should receive a complete annual physical examination with laboratory samples. Once he's over 7, exam or tests should be done twice a year. While it is impossible to predict which animals will get cancer, we can nevertheless fight back by being our dogs and cats' best advocates. Genetics and environmental factors may be beyond our control, but we can still reduce our animals' risk of cancer by making good choices regarding food and supplements, exercise, chemical, and vaccine loads, and veterinary checkups. So yeah, basically, what I was saying earlier is that this is not something that's like if you do all these things, your dog's never gonna get cancer. It's not that. It's that there's a lot of factors that could cause cancer in dogs, and so it's better if we can cut down on some of them. Uh, and grooming too, like I said. Also, yeah, taking your dog to the vet when you find something abnormal. And two, if it's like a tumor or something like that, it's so much easier to have that removed early on. I've seen a lot of tumors removed once they get big, and it leaves such a big opening. Sometimes it can even be difficult for the veterinarian to stitch it up because of how big it is. Even if you don't think it's that big, it's like the wound is going to be a lot bigger than you think it is. That's what I noticed a lot from when I was working in a veterinary clinic and seeing um, them remove tumors or things like that. So yeah, that's basically the end of the article. I'm going to read your guys' message. Let me know what you thought of it. Okay, thank you, Animals Rock, for coming. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I actually really liked this article because it was not extreme and it brought up a lot of really good points. So that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope you thought it was interesting. Yeah, Gamer Girl, I agree. It was pretty amazing. I actually liked this magazine a lot, Animal Wellness. So check it out. It was sent to me by the company like a few months ago, so I've been reading them, and it's a pretty good magazine. Oh, thank you. All right, guys. Well, I guess that is it for today's video. So thank you. I am going to be back to uploading regularly on Fridays soon. I've been working on all my pets videos that I hope are going to be out soon. God, this person just keeps. Okay, I'm gonna be back to posting regularly. Hopefully soon. I've been working on the all my pets videos, so I think the first one's gonna come out this Friday, and then after that, I'll start uploading Friday regularly. Those videos are just a lot of work. Thanks, Gamer Girl. I hope you can come next time. Well, thank you guys so much. I am going to be going then.